Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to 𝗀𝗿 Energy Speaks Back, powered by 𝗲𝗲𝗃. My name is 𝗀𝗶𝗵𝗵. I'm the founder of B2B Energy, and I'm your host. And weekly, I present to you experts from around the world. Welcome to episode 96, and we are in Pittsburgh, where this week our guest shares his experience from the amazing career he's had to the 500-mile Camino de Santiago pilgrimage. Our purpose, as always, is to provide a good understanding of energy management knowledge from around the world, which is available today for us to deliver savings that impact on our planet. Our journey of knowledge sharing will always start with us thanking our sponsors, and they are Diadem for their green and blue roof systems, 𝗀𝗿 for taking the confusion out of energy management, 𝗀𝗃 Systems, renowned for their energy software, Clean Energy Revolution for their knowledge and networking through LinkedIn, B2B Energy for their 11-week energy program and managing organizations' third largest expense, Alexis Energy for their power management systems, 𝗀𝗵𝗵𝗃 for their LED and controls, 𝗀𝗂𝗿𝗏 for their electronics and EV transition, Carbon Black Global for their waste to energy initiatives, Synaffix for their insulation coatings, and SmartCool for their AC initiatives. And lastly, our certificate partners, Ester Energy. Today's special guest is an inspirational individual who has helped 𝗀𝗏𝗃 via sales and talent acquisition to grow their team from 30 employees to over 240 plus employees. He has taught, studied, volunteered in multiple countries of 30 plus. So without any further ado, I give you David Dr. Reichbaum. Good morning, David, and how are you this morning?
Good morning, Paul. I am well. Thanks for having me.
Great. And it's obviously evening for me. I'm doing the night shift and you're doing the early morning shift.
Right.
I think we must be about 12 hours apart from each other, aren't we, currently?
I think that's right. Good morning from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Excellent. And good evening from Thailand. So, David, we have met throughout the Clean Energy Revolution, and we've also we support each other via LinkedIn. So I know a little bit about you, and I know some of your adventures recently. So for the benefit of our audience today, can you give us some background to yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So Paul, you and I met through a mutual friend, Nico Johnson of Suncast Media, and I think also our clean energy technology network is very intertwined. I think we probably crossed paths on many levels through LinkedIn, common contacts. And that's one thing I love about the platform. You get to meet people you would have never met otherwise.
Exactly.
Folks who you have a lot in common with. And, you know, if you were walking around a networking event, you would love to speak with, but if you just don't have the access physically to be in the same space, it's kind of a village square where you get to meet people. And so I think that's where you and I have met, and a lot of your listeners perhaps, and a lot of the folks I've connected with have met in that village square, so to speak. My adventure, yeah, go ahead.
Has Nico interviewed you?
He has not. No, you beat him to it.
All right. We need to get him to interview you.
Yeah,
I've been interviewed by him.
Yeah,
right.
It's quite an honor. I'm still waiting for the invitation.
All right, I'll give him a nudge later on today.
Sounds good.
So tell us about yourself. Tell us about your adventures recently.
Sure. Well, I most recently really went through a big professional transition. I had been working at 𝗀𝗏𝗃 for 3.5 years. It's a clean energy startup that has been around now for about 6 years. And started in sales there, worked my way up from an associate to a director role, and honestly really found that through helping grow the business organically, through referring friends and colleagues and folks I thought would be great for the company, I found myself really enjoying and excelling in recruiting, talent acquisition. And I got a lot of satisfaction out of it. And the business thrived and really benefited from it. And so I had that great opportunity to become the first recruiter, the first person on the people team, so to speak, at 𝗀𝗏𝗃 as we were growing. And then I also had another great opportunity when I was really questioning whether I should be in sales or not. I had a great colleague, former colleague from 𝗀𝗏𝗃 and Tesla, reach out to me, who was then at Rivian, 𝗀𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃, who I am very grateful for the opportunity to join Rivian and spend some time learning about their business. She was on the charging team. She had seen some great work that I'd done at 𝗀𝗏𝗃 and Give Power, the nonprofit that 𝗀𝗏𝗃 funded, and I helped grow. And she was doing solar development work in Mexico. That's where we crossed paths. And she invited me to be a part of her team at Rivian that was installing EV charging in public spaces, parks, state parks, national parks, municipalities, public sector, publicly accessible level 2 charging. I made the really hard decision to leave 𝗀𝗏𝗃 at that time. It sounded like an amazing opportunity at a really influential, growing company that I wanted to be a part of. And the initiative was just too good to pass. Without getting into all the details, I realized after 6 months, I think, finding that my strength was not in sales and not so much in project development and more in the talent acquisition and people aspect of the business. I returned to 𝗀𝗏𝗃 less than a month ago. I'm very happy to have made that transition. It was not easy to leave 𝗀𝗏𝗃. It was not easy to leave Rivian. I do think that I made the right decision for myself at the time. And in between, I took the opportunity to unplug and enjoy about 2 months in between jobs, a good portion of that spent in Spain. I did the Camino de Santiago, a 1-month trek from the French Pyrenees to the Atlantic coast through northern Spain. I saw my cousin get married, and to me, it was really a celebration of a summer that we hadn't seen in the last 2 years or so of travel and social gatherings and adventure. So for me, that's what I've been up to.
That month for me would have been absolutely amazing. And was that amazing?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was transformative, next level type of travel. I've done a lot of different travel and work adventures, but this was really something else.
What is it? What was something else? Because, you know, I can imagine you're walking every day, but you're walking with different people, aren't you? So was you with a group originally, or did you just go and do it yourself?
Yeah. So it started with a pretty spontaneous decision. I had a flight in the morning to catch after the wedding and some travel with my parents and family. I had a guidebook in the Airbnb I was staying in for the Camino. I had thought about it. I wasn't sure about the budget. I wasn't sure about the logistics and the difficulty. And this book just really broke it down. I know there are tons of them, but this one was just calling to me. And so almost overnight, I kind of built up this confidence and this insatiable desire to do it. And I said, I can't get in the taxi this morning. I'll see you off to the airport, but I'm going to stay. I think I'm going to do the Camino. And around that time, I was also making the career decision whether to stay or leave my position at Rivian. So it was next level on a lot of fronts. That's one of them. Just the decision to do it in the first place is amazing. A huge step. Yeah. And the decision to go into an uncertain terrain where you're thinking, oh, well, I might have to leave my job or leave my home, or a period of time of uncertainty for a month is, for me, and I think for most people, much longer than their typical vacation or, holiday. So, yeah, that's where it started. And from there, you learn to unplug and each day make these little micro decisions that, maybe you get in other parts of your life from parenting or from work or from your relationships. But in this case, when I started the Camino by myself, I had to make all those decisions for myself.
Yeah.
Do I walk alone? Do I walk with these people? Do I walk a long distance? Do I walk a short distance? Do we want to take a bike? Do we want to take a rest today? And to me, it just helped reprogram a little bit and view things from a very simple lens, just boiling life down to the bare basics. Do my feet hurt? Is my bag too heavy? Should I bring this thing or leave it behind? And those are decisions we make every day in our regular lives, but I think we don't necessarily have the space to reflect on them and do them intentionally. When you think about what you bring in your bag every day, and it's also kind of a metaphor for, what do you keep with you on your journey through life, and what do you leave behind or share with others or go solo.
And roughly how many kilometers or miles were you walking every day?
Every day, I would say about 25 kilometers is average.
Yeah.
And some days you take a break. Some days you're at a historical location where you want to spend some time.
Yeah.
And for any number of reasons, you could have a longer, more aggressive day or a shorter day of rest.
And if you wanted, you could have walked longer.
Sure. The metaphor of the Camino is that there are infinite caminos. Right. The word in Spanish means the path or the way.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of folklore and superstition and religious symbolism throughout the Camino. Another thing people say is when you're on the Camino, you're never alone. Sometimes that is true in the physical sense. There in the summertime, a lot of people do it. Sometimes it's true more in the spiritual sense. You have your higher power, or your spiritual beliefs, and your self-reflection guiding you along the way.
And throughout the journey, was your mind going through all these different journeys as well? Was it challenging? You have challenging in your head, and then one day it'd be great. Can you describe some of the feelings the emotions she was going through?
Definitely, yeah, absolutely. The first day, I have to say, the first day was one of, if not the best, because I had no expectation. I didn't know anyone who had done this before. I didn't know anyone who was on it with me, and I started with someone who was in the same village as I was, 𝗀𝗵𝗄𝗏. I don't speak French, so pardon my pronunciation, but that's the
sounds
traditional
to me. I think
starting point.
Yeah. It sounds good.
Trying. More of a Spanish speaking guy.
Right.
So the village is on the French side of the Pyrenees, and it's the greatest elevation gain and drop in the whole Camino on your first day.
Wow.
So that really sets the tone. It challenges you. And then after that, you kind of think, wow, this beautiful. I've seen a whole world in one day. And from there, I think it's a really great launching point. The things that you feel throughout the rest of it, it can be influenced by weather. It can be influenced by the people you meet. It can be influenced by your mode of transportation. So for a part of it, I enjoyed riding a mountain bike. Some parts I enjoyed walking solo through hot plains of grains and wheat growing out in the field on a very flat terrain for an entire day. Other times going through the mountains and forest and swimming in a river with local folks and pilgrims, as they call them, the folks walking the Camino.
Yeah.
So
have you documented all of this? I've seen some pictures.
Yeah.
Have you sort of written a diary and things like that?
I took a lot of photos, video, and shared with the people who I was on the journey with. And I haven't quite shared that with the rest of the world, with friends and family, in small doses. But I think what I'll do, and I have started to do, is share it with my LinkedIn community, who I feel like is on a camino themselves of
Yeah.
career growth and personal growth, professional journey and adventure, if you will, and use some of those photos and stories as metaphors for the decisions you make in your career on your path to your professional ambitions and
Yeah.
personal pursuits.
I don't want to labor too much, but I am intrigued about this story. But how did you feel right at the end? What was going through? What was that last emotion you had when you finished?
Not wanting it to be over, not
Really?
wanting it to end, and then trying to think, when can I do this again?
And is that the plan?
Well, a funny story. I had to change my flight since I hadn't planned to stay. And it turns out that two-way flights are cheaper than one-way flights sometimes.
Yeah.
So instead of buying myself another one-way return
Ah,
flight home, because my previous one was canceled, I had to financially to save money buy a two-way flight. So I do have a return flight in March
excellent.
2023 when I will be turning 40. So
Right.
a gift to myself, a goal.
Right. Well done. That sounds a really impressive story. I want to hear more of it. But let's go back to the beginning of David's career, or your education and things. Tell us
Sure.
about that.
Sure, absolutely. When I first went to undergrad, I graduated high school 2001 from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Fox Chapel area high school in the suburbs. And I wanted to get outside of Pittsburgh. I wanted to explore a little bit. And I didn't go too far, just 4 hours down the road. I attended James Madison University in Virginia. For me, that was a good distance, a good size school, not huge, not small, not a flight away, but not a short drive either, about 4 hours or so. And for me, there were a lot of formative experiences there. One is referred to as alternative break, a spring break or a spring holiday where instead of doing something indulgent like in those days was popular, MTV Spring Break in Cancun or somewhere on the beach, you would go and do a service project. And to me, that really got me into doing service. And the first two projects I did were international projects. I went to the first one in El Salvador, the second one in Dominica in the Caribbean. And then the third one, I got to design my own project as a trip lead and then bring student volunteers on that excursion. We went to Washington, D.C. and had met with folks who had just returned from overseas serving in the military. At that time, I was really struggling with the administration and the wars overseas that the U.S. was involved in. And this really put a human face to veterans and those who were trying to defend what they felt was freedom and democracy and human rights in some ways. So that to me led to the next phase and phases where I served in Peace Corps, U.S. volunteer program for development and cultural exchange. I happened to serve in El Salvador, where I had been for the prior spring break service projects. I also, after that, had the chance to teach English in Spain. And that was also an implementation of something I gained from JMU, study abroad in Spain. A great professor, Dr. Carmenza Klein, was my Spanish department head and it really encouraged me to pursue foreign language. And I think you can see those threads throughout. The next thing, I returned to the US to do graduate school, a Master of Public Administration at Monterey Institute, now known as Middlebury Institute of International Studies in California. It's a bilingual graduate school and very specialized. Everyone there speaks a second language. And that's where, if I couldn't study abroad, if I wanted to come back to the US and have a degree that I felt would be recognized domestically, I really wanted to go somewhere that was international, and Monterey Institute was that place. ultimately, it led me to work for City of Monterey, got into environmental programs there, worked for 𝗀𝗏𝗃, which became part of Tesla. And eventually, after Tesla took over 𝗀𝗏𝗃 and 𝗀𝗵𝗵𝗵, the nonprofit that I helped build at 𝗀𝗏𝗃, spun out. I came back to Pittsburgh, joined 𝗀𝗏𝗃, and it's been about 4 years since then. So that's an overview, a quick overview.
𝗀𝗏𝗃 batteries or solar or both or not?
𝗀𝗏𝗃 is demand response. So we're kind of technology agnostic. Whatever your business is using to build your products, to run your facilities, you might have storage, you might have automation or controls. We integrate with that system and help supply grid resilience to the utility, electric utilities, through load shifting off of peak times when there's an emergency, reducing at times of high cost to maintain affordability and resilience on the electric grid.
Is there a lot of that in the US?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you compared to other countries. I can say within the US, it seems to be a growing concern.
Yeah.
Particularly as the grid modernizes and you get more volatility with all of the sources coming in, solar and wind and energy storage, and these great new assets that are growing on the electric grid, but also increase the variability. So demand response is really to help flatten that imbalance and make up for whenever there's not enough
supply. We see a lot of it in the UK, but it's not as common as I would expect it to be, really, because there's some of the things you was picking up there regarding the grid distribution, etc. It does need to be balanced, and there's a big job to be done there regarding technologies.
Sure, and I think too, people can do it on a small scale as well. It's not just for commercial industrial. That's mostly what 𝗀𝗏𝗃 focuses on, but you can also have it on a household level or a microgrid level where you're just balancing your needs. It doesn't have to be a whole grid-wide utility scale initiative.
You mentioned you was in sales and then you went and you've come back, but not in sales. What are you doing now?
So I'm doing, I would say, a form of sales in a lot of ways, sales recruiting. And I feel like I have a lot of credibility and authentic experience to share with the candidates I speak with, because I'm selling them the opportunity to join our company, to work in a position, selling our product. And our product is not just a piece of hardware or software, it's the people that are delivering it. It's the reliability of the folks behind the product and the service that you can count on. And I've found that in my 4 years at 𝗀𝗏𝗃, that the people are incredibly reliable and innovative, and the culture of the company is really strong. And that's what made me want to come back and stay and feel like I have a lot of conviction when I'm speaking to a candidate. I've done it myself. I've been in the trenches. I've done the sales, and I think I can spot talent that way because I've seen what it takes.
Yeah. And have you got a technical background at all in what you do?
Not really. My background is I sold residential solar. I did international off-grid energy access, so solar microgrids, more in community development and nonprofit management, sales, but not no technical, no.
But you obviously understand what's required for the technical, to sell and to have the passion to sell the business. You've got a good understanding of the technologies, obviously.
I feel like one great thing that I've appreciated and enjoyed in the last few places I've worked, particularly 𝗀𝗏𝗃, Rivian, 𝗀𝗏𝗃, and Tesla, just by working in these companies, you learn so much. I feel like particularly at 𝗀𝗏𝗃, we have a lot of all hands gatherings, webinars and workshops and in-person gatherings we call 𝗀𝗏𝗃fest. You learn so much from subject matter experts at your company. I think that's a really cool thing to offer as a benefit, because if you're not, people will leave to pursue school, to pursue another project. And as well at 𝗀𝗏𝗃 and 𝗀𝗏𝗃 here, when I've brought opportunities to our leadership and say, I've got an idea, I'd like to try something new, or I'd like to launch a program, they've been really supportive. And I think that's a way that entrepreneurs recognize other entrepreneurs in their company. And instead of having them leave to go start something else somewhere else, they say, why don't you try that here? Why don't we give you a nurturing environment where you can try it out? And if it works, great, we'll foster that. If it's something you need to pursue, you're welcome to try something on your own, but let's try it here first. I'm really grateful for that experience.
I've just read Elon Musk's biography, but written by someone. But for me, what you're talking about is a culture that I don't know whether he's driving that culture or whether it's the people that he brings together drives this culture regarding the entrepreneurism. And, don't go off and create the great ideas somewhere else, bring them into the organization. And there's something as well. I've been talking to someone recently, and that they've said about the American way of entrepreneurism. In the UK, we don't have that. You're on your own.
Really?
Yeah, we don't.
Really?
And people feel threatened by other entrepreneurs that have got these ideas and concepts.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's 100% altruistic. That also seems like a way to get intellectual property and innovation in your company. So I'm not surprised. I am surprised that the UK has a more competitive atmosphere, but there are reasons to be collaborative too that don't necessarily mean you're being a good Samaritan.
So the Elon Musk culture, was you embraced to that? Did you get exposed to that at all?
Honestly, I was not very exposed to it. I was only with Tesla for a short period after 𝗀𝗏𝗃 was acquired.
Yeah.
And I think more so I saw it through the lens of 𝗀𝗏𝗃. Right. And as the business was growing there, the business model was, I think a really vertical integration was something that I saw there that I also see at Tesla. The fact that we looked at building our own solar panels and acquired a company called 𝗬𝗵 Solar that built a lot of the module racking systems and innovated in ways that would help every part of the business, from operations to finance to the company culture. It was really fun to be part of.
What's your views going forward regarding the environment and the planet and that side of it? I know you're in the clean tech environment side of it. Do you have an opinion, and is that a driving force behind what you do?
An interesting thing I was thinking about when I was deciding to rejoin 𝗀𝗏𝗃. This is just my own worldview, perhaps, but I was thinking about all of these technology innovations that we have that are building more solar panels, more wind turbines, more electric vehicles, more batteries. And those are all necessary, important parts of the equation for the modern times that we live in. But for me, one thing I really like about 𝗀𝗏𝗃 and demand response in the work that I do, it's doing more with less. It's using energy at different times in different ways rather than building new stuff. And I think something that I see is it almost feels like a shell game. We're always trying to shift the need. Oh, well, we need more of this, we need more of that. But ultimately, we need more rare earth minerals. We need more water. We need more sun. But the only way that we can avoid that scarcity is by being content, living simply, and being efficient with what we already have. And I think that on a micro level, just living simply so that others can simply live is a mantra and a way to be, but also on a large scale. I hope that we don't just try and build our way out of these problems, because I truly don't think that's possible. I don't think it's sustainable.
Yeah.
I think learning to be content in a simpler form of life. I really think that's got to be part of the equation: efficiency and simplicity, as opposed to just innovate, build.
Yeah. My background is energy management. I really believe in turning stuff off rather than bringing in more solar to actually help us, and exactly what you're saying, and for me, I like the word Camino, and then the path. Energy management is a journey, and that's the path.
Sure.
Your first path isn't go and put solar on the roof, go and put a wind turbine in your garden. It is look at your profiles now, look and review what you're doing now, turn your lights off.
Yeah.
Turn your set points down, the simple things. It doesn't cost any money to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I see Europe is actually on their
completely.
measures, doing their measures. It doesn't cost you any money. And in fact, you save money. And the figure used to be 10 pence per degree that you per hour. It's probably a lot more than that now. Now the energy crisis has gone through the roof. But it doesn't cost anything to make those changes. And then once you've done that and you've got your profile down to a level, then you can start thinking about solar and then taking your net zero journey to the final part of it. They're my thoughts. And I've always been energy management for the whole of my 42 years of career is focus on that. That's why I'm out there telling people to turn that one light off. This is important. Why use that energy?
Paul. We're out there. Yeah, it's not quite as sexy as a cool, shiny new product on your roof or in your garage in the driveway. But personally, I feel like if we could get back to our roots and live a little more simply, we wouldn't have to build all of it's exhausting to be constantly building and selling and managing all these massive complexes, so that we can do what are the things that we're doing that's requiring so much energy that we can't use a little bit less or use it a little bit smarter.
So what's your plans now in your career? You're planning to do this walk again in March. You've got any other ideas of what you want to be doing?
Yeah, I just returned to 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗃, and to be honest, the talent acquisition part is relatively new to me. I've done it informally. I've always recruited people and been a bit of a connector and an ambassador for my causes, for my companies, for my community. And so I think I want to build that professional skill, that professional muscle, the talent acquisition part of it. And it's been great to see 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗃 grow from when I joined, about 30 employees. We're almost up to 300 now, 4 years later. I'm going to dig in and get in the trenches, and I want to see this thing grow and be a really key part of the DNA of growing a company that I hope is going to have a huge impact on the way that we have a more resilient grid, a more sustainable grid, and a more affordable energy system.
Are you seeing talent coming in from different sectors, like from the oil and gas sector? Are you seeing any transition?
Yeah, that's actually one of the really encouraging things. We've had a few folks who came not from an energy background, not from a sustainability or environmental background, who've done exceptionally well, who've brought in different perspective. Some military veterans, people from backgrounds you would not have expected. I think we have a long way to go in terms of diversity. However, we do relatively well on gender diversity, and it is helpful and really valuable to the company to have a bunch of different perspectives. So yeah, having people from non-traditional backgrounds is absolutely an asset. Um, and also we're selling to a lot of large commercial and industrial facilities that may not have the same environmental or sustainability goals. So you have to be able to speak their language, whether it's profits or operations or just simple technology. Um, they want to be able to say yes, but maybe not for the same reasons that you want them to say yes.
Yeah. And obviously the customers are variable types of customer, different sectors, yeah.
Commercial and industrial and institutional facilities, meaning could be anything from a wastewater treatment plant to a stadium. We just recently signed an agreement with Madison Square Garden.
Right.
It could be a steel mill to a university campus. I'm here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We have a lot of steel mills in the area historically that are some of the largest energy users. We also have universities and healthcare systems that are some of the largest employers and property owners throughout the region.
Yeah.
All of them can participate in demand response, and the utility rewards them financially for doing so.
We're coming to that stage in the interview where I like to see if there's a takeaway, and I'm hoping it's going to be in a particular direction. Is there anything that you can give back to our audience today from your experience as a takeaway today?
Sure. Yeah, I think for me, the most recent realization was just that your career, your camino, your path, does not need to be a straight line. And I think a lot of us get frustrated or feeling defeated or lost when we realize that our career path is not up and to the right, a straight line from inception to success.
Yeah.
And it's hard to embrace, it's hard to tolerate. And in my experience, those times in between can be really valuable. The Camino for me, 2 months in Spain, a period of, whether it was Peace Corps or teaching English or traveling in between jobs, I think those experiences add up to something that's really magical. It's like a recipe of sorts with a lot of different ingredients rather than something that's a straight line. And I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I'm saying for those who do choose to try a bunch of different things in their career, I think it really enriches your life and brings a really valuable perspective to wherever you choose to work and whatever relationships, professional or otherwise. Change is going to happen whether we like it or not. And if you try and resist it, I think that's a really uphill battle and exhausting. So embracing change is probably one of the greatest skills that you can cultivate, because it's going to happen one way or another.
Yeah. The little saying in my head now really is going with the flow, isn't it?
Sure.
And helping
Absolutely.
that flow along. Don't try to put a dam in front of it, because it's going to flow through you.
Yeah.
And you're going to be washed away.
To build that dam, right?
Yeah. Well, David, look, I'm really interested in your story, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more about your walk and your journey that you took along the path. And I'm jealous that you're going to be doing it again, possibly in March. Excited to see how your work comes regarding bringing in this new talent. I'm very interested to learn more of that going forward, and I'm sure we will do on LinkedIn regarding following yourselves. So, David, I'd like to say thank you for joining us today. It's been a great pleasure. Sorry you've had to get up early in the morning to do this, and I'm now getting ready to go to bed.
No problem. It was a pleasure. All mine, Paul. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
Enjoy speaking with you, and look forward to continuing the conversation with you and your listeners.
Brilliant. Well, David, we'd just like to just lastly say, please, you and your family stay safe in these times.
Thank you. Likewise. Right back at you.